The cry tears through the canyon, and the wind shreds it to ribbons as sand stings my eyes, and the ridge throws thunder back at us in cruel echoes. Maya said, "There by the mesquite," and the headlamp bites a silver arc into barbed wire and quivering hide. Ethan said, "She's caught deep," and the mare jerks, hooves scraping rock as a storm swallows the last color from the sky. I taste metal and fear while the fence hums, and lightning maps the ravine like cracked glass. Maya said, "Easy, girl. Breathe," and the mare answers with a shudder that smells of iron and sweat. Ethan said, "Bolt cutters are in the truck," and another thunderhead rolls like a locomotive above our skulls. The wash below growls awake, a throat clearing before a flood, and the wire sings when the mare strains again. Maya said, "No time to fetch anything," and she palms the multitool like a prayer blade. Ethan said, "We do this together," and the light steadies on the knot where steel bites flesh. The wind turns colder, the rain begins to stipple our faces, and the canyon waits to see if we deserve this life we are trying to steal back. The rain steadies into needles, and the canyon smell turns to wet iron, while the wash gurgles like a throat clearing a warning. Maya said, "If she panics we lose our shot," and her palm presses the mare's shoulder in slow circles. Ethan said, "I'll keep the light on the twist," and the beam holds the wire in a hard white cage. The cutters feel impossibly small for the task, yet there is nothing else, and the storm is done with patience. Maya said, "Easy, easy," and the mare's ears flick when thunder rolls like barrels over stone. Ethan said, "We cut the top strand first," and his breath fogs, a brief ghost that vanishes against the rush of cold air. The fence sings a low note when the mare shifts, and it vibrates through my bones like doubt. Maya said, "On 3, and the number never reaches its end, because courage is a door you kick before you count." The jaws bite metal, and the canyon winces at the grit of steel on steel, while the wash swells below us. Ethan said again, and the second bite finds purchase like a stubborn prayer that refuses to quit. The cut frees a breath but not a life, and the wire's tail slashes back with spite as the mare staggers and tests the hurt like a stung limb waking. Maya said, "Hold steady," and she slides 2 fingers under a cleaner strand to shield flesh from barbs. Ethan said, "The post will give if we torque it," and the mesquite post groans as he levers with his shoulder. The night turns electric at the edges as distant lightning outlines the ridge like a cauterized scar. Maya said, "She's bleeding less now," and the words land soft, a fragile truth we dare not test. Ethan said, "Radio Laura when we clear the last twist," and the unit hisses in his pocket like a sleeping insect. The wash coughs up a stick, and then another, and their clatter warns of heavier things to come. Maya said, "We finish here before the rush," and her grip hardens as the mare's eye finds hers, and holds a second longer than fear allows. The steel sighs when it yields, and the canyon exhales with us. Freedom is not a clean break, it is a limp and a question, and when the last barb snaps the mare swings her head and nearly takes the light with it. Maya said, "Back. Give her room," and the ledge shrinks to a narrow promise above the speaking water. Ethan said, "She can't put weight yet," and the hoof tests stone, then hovers, then kisses down like a frightened thought. The storm scrapes closer and lays cold fingers on the back of my neck as the radio pops to life. Dr. Laura said, "Stabilize the leg and keep her calm," and the voice cuts through rain like a clean blade. Maya said, "We need a wrap and a path," and Ethan unspools bandage from a sealed pouch with hands that refuse to shake. The mare licks rain from her lips and then snorts as if arguing with the sky. Maya said, "I know, I hear you," and the wrap goes on snug and white against a world turning the color of slate. The flood speaks louder and the canyon answers with a stone song we cannot afford to ignore. The path out is a ribbon of shale that laughs at boots, and the wash fattens into a brown mussel that wants to eat the trail whole. Maya said, "We lead her high and slow," and the rope lines a gentle arc that asks not orders. Ethan said, "If the far switchback is gone, we cut across the shelf, and the shelf is a rumor in the rain." The mare leans into pain, and chooses trust over terror for 3 breaths that seem to last a lifetime each. Maya said, "That's it, brave girl," and the words stitch a bridge where rock will not. The radio crackles again as Dr. Laura says, "If water rises, abandon gear and move," and the word abandon bites until we spit it out. Ethan said, "We keep her between us and their bodies become rails for a living train that cannot derail tonight." The sky rips open once more, and the canyon flinches, and the ledge shivers sand into the dark water below. Maya said, "One more turn," and the turn arrives like a tight door swinging wider than fear imagined. The canyon yields to dawn, but the storm still lingers, leaving the ground soaked and the air raw with petrichor. Maya said, "She made it through the night," and her voice carries relief stitched with exhaustion. Ethan said, "She trusts you now," and his gaze rests on the mare's cautious steps as the rope slackens in her hand. The Mustang snorts, ears flicking, testing the silence as if it too fears the morning's fragile calm. Maya kneels, brushing damp hair from her eyes, and studies the wound with a nurse's scrutiny. Ethan said, "She'll scar, but she'll walk," and the words hang between them like a fragile promise. The mare lowers her head, muzzle brushing wet grass, and the simple act feels like a hymn. Maya said, "She deserves more than this fence line," and her voice softens, weighted with memory. Ethan's jaw tightens, and he answers, "So did the one we lost," before silence swallows his words. The bond, fragile but real, glimmers in the muted light as the canyon exhales in peace. The mare stumbles on loose gravel, and Maya reaches instinctively, palm steadying her shoulder with a tenderness that makes the canyon hush. Maya said, "Slow, girl," and the words come out more prayer than command. Ethan watches, his lips pressed thin, and says, "She'll need days to heal, not hours," but his hands still hover near the rope like a safety net. The river roars in the distance, swollen and unforgiving, reminding them of the night's trial. Maya strokes the mare's neck, her own breath uneven, as if she too is learning how to trust again. Ethan said, "You've done this before," and she shakes her head, whispering, "Not like this, not with one that looks me in the eye as if she knows my story." The mare lifts her head, ears twitching, rainwater dripping from her mane, and the air thickens with quiet understanding. The shelter they find is a shallow cave, its walls etched with ancient scars from floods long gone, and inside the air smells of stone and safety. Maya said, "We can rest here," and she guides the mare to a dry patch of sand. Ethan lowers his pack, back stiff, and says, "She'll need water soon," his tone sharpened by worry. The mare collapses into stillness, chest rising heavy, and the sight knots something deep in Maya's chest. She presses her palm to her thigh, memories clawing back unbidden of another rescue that ended too soon. Ethan said, "Don't drift," and his eyes cut to her, steady and grounding. Maya forces a breath, answering, "She matters more than my ghosts," and the words shake free like stones falling into silence. The mare exhales, long and weary, and her trust anchors them all. The cave amplifies each drip of water until it sounds like time itself marking their vigil. Maya brushes grit from the mare's wound, her fingers gentle as breath. Maya said, "She reminds me of him," and the words spill before she can stop them. Ethan said, "Your brother?" and the question is tender, not probing. Maya nods, eyes dim with storms older than last night's, whispering, "He was caught in something he couldn't break free from." Silence folds over them, heavy but shared, and the mare shifts closer, as if drawn by the gravity of grief. Ethan said, "Then saving her is saving him too," and the truth in his voice stings sharper than rain. Maya presses the bandage tighter, refusing tears, while the canyon wind moans through the cave mouth like memory itself. The storm passes, leaving the cave bathed in fractured sunlight that cuts across the floor like broken glass. Maya said, "We'll move when she's ready," and her hand lingers on the mare's neck as if holding on to a promise. Ethan shoulders his pack, muttering, "The ridge trail dries fast, but the valley could still be mud," his words half to himself, half to fate. The mare pushes herself upright, trembling but resolute, and for a moment she seems larger than the space around her. Maya said. She wants to fight, and her eyes shine with a stubborn fire that mirrors the horse's defiance. Ethan grins faintly, the first crack in his guarded armor, saying, "Then we'll fight with her." Together in the fragile quiet after the storm, they find not just survival but something closer to redemption. The morning hardens into glare, and the cave's safety dissolves when the wind shifts and carries the hot smell of flood rot. Maya said, swellings climbing, and she traces the bandage edge with steady fingers. Ethan said, "We need a splint upgrade," and he unfolds the map as if paper could change the terrain. The radio crackles, and Dr. Laura said, "Meet me at Ridge Gate, 2 miles north, and static choose the distance between promise and risk." The mare tests the leg, flinches, then leans into Maya's palm like a ship into a harbor wall. Maya said, slow. We move on her breath, and her hand rises and falls with the rhythm of pain and trust. Ethan said, "Ridge Gate sits behind a posted fence," and the words land like a verdict. The sun bangs off wet stone and draws steam from the trail like ghosts learning to fly. Maya said, "Law can wait, bleeding can't," and the choice tightens her mouth into a line. The mare exhales a broken note, and the canyon answers with heat and silence. The trail narrows to a spine and ends at a fence that stitches private land to public stone with ugly precision. Ethan said, "No gate on this stretch," and he palms the post like he is asking permission from wood. The mare tosses her head and the rope hums a warning that time is shorter than the map admits. Maya said, "Ridge Gate beyond this line," and she studies the stapled signs that threaten fines and impound. The sky builds towers of cloud, as if stacking reasons to hurry. Ethan said, "We could go around and lose an hour we don't have," and he does not look at the swelling. Maya said, "We keep her alive," and the multi-tool opens with a click that sounds like a vow. The wire sings when it loosens, and the mare steps once, uncertain, then calmer when Maya breathes. Ethan said, "I'll mend it when we pass," and guilt rides his voice like dust on wind. The clouds swallow more blue, and the air turns metallic and loud. The wire gives and a pickup's horn splits the heat like a blade finding bone. Cole said, "Step away from my fence," and gravel crackles under his boots as if the ridge disapproves with sound. Maya said, "We're moving an injured wild horse to a vet," and she squares her shoulders without lifting her voice. Cole said, "You cut again and I call the sheriff," and his hat brim throws a shadow as sharp as his tone. The mare stumbles and lands against Maya's thigh, and pain jumps across skin and air. Ethan said, "She'll go septic if we delay," and he holds the rope low to keep panic small. Cole said, "Not my problem," and the words try to turn a life into a rule. The radio hisses, and Dr. Laura said, "Status and urgency threads every letter." Maya said, "We are at a fence with a man who wants time we do not own," and her breath shakes once then steadies. The wind lifts dust and makes everyone blink at the same hard truth. The standoff becomes a mirror where every second reflects a worse outcome. Maya said, "Find me later," and she pulls a roll of bright tape and splint slats from Ethan's pack. Cole said, "Touch one more wire and I film you," and his phone rises like a badge. Ethan said, "Help us carry the slats and I'll mend the fence myself," and the offer tries to build a bridge out of thin wood. The mare trembles and sinks to a knee as if the ground turned heavier. Maya said, "Stay with me," and her hands work the splint while sweat burns her eyes. The radio cracks, and Dr. Laura said, "Sedation ready when you reach me," and hope tastes like rain on a hot pan. Cole's gaze flickers when the mare groans, and a small knot unravels in the lines of his mouth. Maya said, "No one has to be the villain today," and the word floats, fragile and stubborn. Ethan said, "On 3 we lift," and breath becomes the only music they can count by. Thunder rolls like drums buried under stone, and the first fat drops spatter the road with dark coins. Cole said, "Flash, flood cuts, this ridge first," and the warning lands heavier than his threats. Maya said, "Then help us move," and the plea is iron wrapped in velvet. Ethan said, "We angle to the wash lip and ride the crown," and he shifts to the uphill side with the rope slack and ready. The mare lurches upright, eyes bright with fear, and Maya breathes her steady again. Cole said gates half a mile, and he gestures with 2 fingers that finally look like help. The radio spits and Dr. Laura said, shelter at the windmill if water hits, and the map redraws itself inside their heads. Maya said, we go now, and her boots bite the mud as if time had teeth. Ethan said, I'm with you, and they move like a single thought that refuses to break. The sky comes apart and the ridge begins to run. The ridge road slants toward a rusted windmill, and with each step the storm's weight presses harder on their shoulders. Maya said, we'll shelter there, and the words drag with the fatigue of battles not yet won. Ethan said, her breathing's ragged, and he adjusts the rope as the mare leans heavy into him. The windmill groans like a warning, spinning erratic in gusts that taste of metal and rain. Cole said, this land wasn't hers to begin with, and his bitterness cuts into the fragile silence. Maya glances back, fire behind her eyes, and answers, then whose land is it if not hers? The mare snorts, ears pinning, sensing the friction that burns hotter than the storm itself. Ethan said, argue later, and his voice is iron shaped into calm. The radio sputters and Dr. Laura said, hurry, infection won't wait for shelter, her urgency slicing through static. Lightning forks across the ridge, illuminating truths too heavy to leave hidden. Inside the broken windmill shed, shadows stretch like old secrets, and the air smells of rust and oil. Maya presses her palm to the mare's shoulder, whispering, easy girl, you're safe, though her voice trembles with doubt. Ethan kneels, peeling back bandage, and said, the wound isn't from wire alone, his tone sharpened by discovery. The cut edges are too clean, too deliberate, carved by a hand not by accident. Maya stiffens, fury flooding her voice as she says, someone did this to her. Cole shifts, eyes flicking down, and mutters, people around here see Mustangs as thieves, not miracles. Silence fills the space, heavy and choking. Ethan said deliberate cruelty, and the words echo like a curse in the hollow metal frame. The mare lifts her head, gaze haunted, and Maya's jaw locks with a vow unspoken. The truth coils tighter as thunder rolls, and Maya's voice cracks when she says, this wasn't chance. Ethan steadies the mare's leg and answers, they cut her to drive her off, maybe worse. Cole looks away, muttering, it's been done before, and the weight in his tone admits complicity more than denial. Maya rises, fists trembling, and said, wild belongs to no one's cruelty. The mare struggles to stand, quivering, and the sight pulls every silence taut. Ethan said, we get her to Laura now, urgency bending his posture to command. Cole exhales, shoulders slumping as if the storm stole his strength, and murmurs, I can guide you through the quarry road. Maya's glare cuts, but she nods because survival bends even anger to necessity. Outside, rain thickens into sheets, and the windmill creaks like the world itself mourning. The quarry road yawns like a scar through the hills, gravel crunching under boots and hooves, as the storm hounds them. Ethan said, this track cuts hours, and his eyes never leave the dark horizon. Maya steadies the mare, whispering, one step at a time, you're stronger than what they gave you. Cole strides ahead, flashlight beam carving through rain, muttering, keep close, pits run deep here. The mare limps but does not falter, defiance pulsing in every trembling muscle. Maya said, she fights because she has to, and her hand never leaves the rope. Ethan said, and because you won't quit, his voice soft, almost drowned by the storm. The quarry cliffs loom, jagged teeth against the sky, and the road feels like a throat ready to swallow. Lightning bears their shadows long and thin, stretched like truths they cannot hide anymore. The quarry narrows, and voices from memory feel louder than thunder. Maya said, this isn't just rescue anymore, her tone carved by rage and devotion. Ethan guides the mare closer, answering, it's justice and survival stitched together. Cole halts at a fork, breath heavy, and mutters, the lower pass floods fast, but the ridge will break her leg worse. Maya locks eyes with him, fire in hers, and says, then you lead where she lives, not where law is easiest. The mare whinnies sharp, echoing like a protest across stone. Ethan said, "She knows, she feels it," and he tightens his grip. Rain drives harder, a curtain pulling them into the unknown. Cole nods once, a gesture of surrender or redemption, and leads toward higher ground. Maya whispers, "We won't let them take another from us," as the quarry walls close like a vow etched in stone. The quarry narrows until it feels like stone jaws closing, and the storm pounds harder, turning the trail into a rushing ribbon of mud. Maya said, "We push or the water takes us," her hand gripping the rope until her knuckles whiten. Ethan braces his shoulder against the mare, saying, "She's slipping. Brace her flank," while his boots skid across wet gravel. Cole lifts the flashlight, its beam trembling with his breath, muttering, "The ridge is breaking apart." The mare collapses to one knee, the bandaged leg buckling under pressure, and fear sears the air like lightning. Maya kneels, whispering, "Get up, please," her voice breaking but fierce. Ethan shouts now, all of us together, and their bodies become anchors against the storm. The roar of the flood rises below, and the world shudders as if nature itself dares them to fail. The mare staggers upright with a guttural cry, and for an instant her strength outshines the storm. Maya said, "That's it. Fight," her voice a lifeline stretched thin over chaos. Ethan pulls on the rope, guiding her forward, shouting, "Lean uphill, don't let her slide." Cole moves to the rear, pushing hard, his jaw tight against the weight of guilt and stone. The trail narrows into a razor edge, one side a wall, the other a drop alive with floodwater. Maya said, "Stay with me," and the mare's breath fogs her cheek, warm against the cold torrent. The wind claws at their clothes, and the storm spits fury in their faces, but they climb, step by brutal step. Ethan said, "One more stretch," though his voice cracks with fatigue, and the lightning reveals how close the abyss waits. The ridge gives way with a crack, rock shearing down into the torrent, and mud sprays across their legs. Maya shouts, "Run," but her voice is swallowed by thunder. Ethan yanks the rope, the mare leaping awkwardly with her bandaged leg, hooves striking sparks from stone. Cole scrambles ahead, waving the light like a desperate beacon, yelling, "This way, the higher cut." Storm collapses around them, a wall of water chasing faster than their lungs can keep pace. Maya's chest heaves, her braid whipping her face as she cries, "Don't quit on me now," and the mare answers with a wild scream that splits the storm itself. Together, they surge toward the cut in the rock, survival dangling by a heartbeat and a handful of grit. They slam into the cut, walls closing like a funnel, but the higher ground buys them seconds of breath. Ethan gasps, "We can't stop," dragging the rope tighter, his arms trembling. Maya steadies the mare, whispering, "You're almost there," her words iron through exhaustion. Cole braces himself against a rock, flashlight beam jerking as he shouts, "This path won't hold if the water climbs higher." The mare shudders, foam flecking her lips, but she pushes forward, her spirit refusing to break. Maya's eyes blaze with fury and devotion as she says, "She's survived worse than their cruelty." Ethan nods, voice ragged, "Then she'll survive this too," and his hand pushes the mare's flank with everything left inside him. The thunder answers with a roar that sounds like the sky tearing apart. The path opens at last onto a plateau, the storm clawing the sky above, but the flood snarling below, powerless to climb. Maya collapses to her knees, chest heaving, and whispers, "She made it," though her eyes still burn with fire. Ethan drops beside her, rope slack in his hand, saying, "Barely," but she's still on her feet. The mare staggers, sides heaving, but she lifts her head and lets out a piercing call that echoes across the canyon like defiance itself. Cole stands apart, soaked and hollow-eyed, muttering, "You saved her, but now the law will come for you." Maya rises, defiance in every line of her soaked frame, and says, "Let them. I answer only to her survival." The plateau vibrates with thunder, but above the storm, the bond between woman and horse glows unbreakable. Dawn seeps over the plateau, painting wet stone gold while the storm drifts away like a beaten giant. Maya strokes the mare's neck, whispering, "You're still here," her voice raw with awe. Ethan crouches, checking the splint, and says, "Infection hasn't set in yet, but we're not safe." The mare breathes deep, nostrils flaring, her body trembling but her eyes steady with will. Cole lingers at the ridge, arms crossed, muttering, "You'll bring the law down on all of us," but his tone lacks its former fire. Maya rises, shoulders squared, and answers, "The law can follow. This life goes forward." Ethan nods, his jaw tight, saying, "Laura's clinic is 2 ridges west. If we move steady, she'll make it." The plateau hums with silence as the storm dies, leaving only determination to drive them onward. The trail winds down toward the valley, softened by light but slick with storm's memory. Maya steadies each step, murmuring, "Easy now," her voice weaving calm through trembling limbs. Ethan grips the rope, boots sliding, saying, "We'll pace with her strength, not ours." The mare leans into their rhythm, her bandaged leg dragging but not surrendering. Cole follows behind, flashlight now useless in daylight, his silence weighted with thoughts unspoken. Maya glances at Ethan, eyes filled with quiet fire, and says, "She'll walk out of this canyon, no matter what it takes." Ethan's smile flickers, brief but genuine, before the path narrows again into shadow. The valley air rises damp and sweet, promising relief, but also reminding them of how far they must still go. They reach a clearing where wild sage blooms despite the storm, and the mare lowers her head, nibbling weakly at green shoots. Maya kneels beside her, whispering, "Take strength where you find it," her hand pressed to her flank. Ethan scans the horizon, eyes narrowing, saying, "Dust rising, ranchers might be ahead." Cole stiffens, muttering, "If they see her in that state, they'll say she's diseased, a danger." Maya's voice sharpens like flint as she answers, "She's no danger but to those who'd chain her." The mare snorts, ears flicking at tension in the air, while the clouds part enough to flood the clearing with warm light. Ethan said, "We'll move fast through this stretch," and the rope tightens again as their path turns urgent. The moment of peace shatters, but its memory stays as a promise in her eyes. The trail dips toward the second ridge, and voices carry faintly through the wind, men shouting, engines humming. Ethan said, "We're close to their camp," his eyes scanning the tree line. Maya tightens her grip on the rope, whispering, "She's ours to protect," her words laced with steel. Cole grimaces, muttering, "If they find her branded, they'll claim ownership," but his gaze falters when Maya's eyes burn into his. The mare limps but continues, each step an act of defiance. Ethan places his hand on Maya's shoulder, saying, "We shield her together, and for a heartbeat, unity binds them stronger than fear." The sound of chains rattling on the wind turns every breath heavy. Maya said, "Then we move faster than their cruelty," and she steps forward with unshakable resolve. The ridge crests at last, revealing Laura's clinic in the valley below, its roof gleaming like salvation in morning sun. Maya exhales, whispering, "We're almost there," her relief edged with exhaustion. Ethan steadies the mare, voice low, "She'll make it now," though worry still grips his jaw. Cole lingers at the ridge edge, muttering, "Lawmen will come when they hear," but his words no longer carry conviction. The mare pushes forward, nostrils flaring, her strength rallying with sight of open pasture ahead. Maya brushes mud from her cheek, murmuring, "Freedom waits just beyond," as if speaking to herself as much as the mare. Ethan grips her shoulder briefly, steady and grounding, before guiding them downhill. The storm is gone, the danger not forgotten, but the valley gleams like redemption. The valley air tastes clean after the storm, and sunlight spills across the clinic's yard like a benediction. Maya steadies the mare at the gate, whispering, "Almost home," her voice soft yet unyielding. Ethan grips the rope, mud-streaked and weary, saying, "She'll get the care she needs now." Cole lingers in the shadow of the fence, his silence heavier than words, knowing his choices will echo long after this day. The mare exhales a long, trembling breath, eyes softening as if she understands safety is near. Maya brushes damp hair from her face and breathes. She's free, though the weight of the journey still clings to her bones. Inside the barn, the smell of hay and antiseptic mingles, a reminder that healing is both natural and crafted by hands. Dr. Lauren kneels, gloves on, saying, "You brought her just in time," her calm voice cutting tension like light through smoke. Maya steadies the mare's head, whispering, "You're safe now," while Ethan holds the flank, his grip sure but gentle. Cole shifts near the doorway, muttering, "Didn't think she'd make it," his words torn between guilt and awe. The mare stands firm, though her legs quiver, a living testament to survival and stubborn will. The sound of scissors snipping bandages is steady as Laura works, her voice calm. "She'll walk again, though she'll carry scars." Maya closes her eyes, whispering, "Scars mean survival," her hand never leaving the mare's mane. Ethan breathes out hard, relief mixing with exhaustion, saying, "We almost lost her more than once." Cole lowers his head, his voice rough, "You fought harder than anyone I've seen." The mare shifts weight, testing her leg, and nickers softly. A sound fragile yet victorious. In that moment, silence becomes reverence, shared by all who witness it. Afternoon settles, the storm forgotten, but its memory stitched into every breath. Maya sits outside the barn, the mare grazing quietly nearby, her spirit unbroken. Ethan drops beside her, saying, "She'll run again someday," his tone sure as bedrock. Maya whispers, "And when she does, I'll hear my brother in her hooves," her eyes glistening. Cole leans on the fence, gaze distant, muttering, "Maybe freedom was never meant to be caged." The silence that follows is heavy, but not bitter. It is filled with the weight of lessons earned through struggle and pain. The mare lifts her head, eyes bright, and the world feels lighter. Evening falls, the sky painted with fire and violet, and the mare steps into the open pasture, her limp slight, but her stride proud. Maya leans on the fence, whispering, "Run when you're ready," her words soft as prayer. Ethan rests beside her, voice low, "She owes us nothing," his gaze full of respect. Cole lingers in shadow, hat in hand, his silence the closest thing to apology he knows. The mare raises her head to the horizon and exhales a long, fierce breath, the sound echoing like freedom itself. The day closes not with finality, but with a promise etched in sky and earth, that survival is its own victory.